We had a tremendous success, and this is the New York Times. I call it the failing New York Times. It's going to hell. And CNN, which, as you know, very few people are watching. And you would think they'd do the opposite. You would think they'd want to say, this was an unbelievable success. And the thing that hurts me is it's really demeaning to the pilots and the people that put that whole thing together, the generals. That was a perfect operation. And when you look at the holes, and this was done from 52,000 feet, there was no moon, there was no light, and those three holes are right together. And also, and nobody talks about this, we shot 30 Tomahawks from submarines, in particular one submarine, but that was 400 miles away. Mm-hmm. And every one of those Tomahawks hit within a foot of where they were supposed to hit, took out a lot of buildings that Israel wasn't able to get. We took them out with Tomahawks. We don't even talk about that. This was a devastating attack, and it knocked them for a loop. And you know, if it didn't, they wouldn't have settled. If they had won, if we didn't take it out, they wouldn't have settled. Somebody mentioned that to me last night. If that thing wasn't devastated, they would have never settled. Marco, do you have something to say?
No, first of all this stuff about the intelligence, this is what a leaker is telling you the intelligence says. That's the game these people play. They read it, and then they go out and characterize it the way they want it characterized, and they're leakers. This is the game they play. So that's number one. Number two, here's a fact. The conversion facility, which you can't do a nuclear weapon without a conversion facility. We can't even find where it used to be on the map. You can't even find where it used to be because the whole thing is just blackened out. It's gone.
It's wiped out.
It's wiped out. Then we dropped 12 of the strongest bombs on the planet right down the hole in 2 places. Everything underneath that mountain is in bad shape. And I refer you to the statement of the IAEA, Mr. Grossi. You know what he said? He said there was Iran, the way it looked the day before the attack, and what their nuclear program looks like now. 2 very different things. They are way behind where they were just 7 days ago. Now, anything in the world can be rebuilt, but now we know where it is. And if they try to rebuild it, we'll have options there as well. But all this leaker stuff, these leakers are professional stabbers. That's what they are. They go out and they read this stuff, and then they tell you what it says against the law, but they characterize it for you in a way that's absolutely false. There's no way Iran comes to the table if somehow nothing had happened. This was complete and total obliteration. They're in bad shape. They are way behind today compared to where they were just 7 days ago because of what the president did.
A hurt Donald Trump and a exasperated Marco Rubio is what you get, as you can see in that clip there, when the media has the sheer audacity to question the claim that Iran's nuclear program has been completely obliterated based on a leaked document that shows that that very much may not be the case, and Trump may be blustering and puffing his chest out here when he repeatedly makes these claims. Now, when Trump says that regime change wasn't the purpose of the strikes in Iran and that completely debilitating their ability to make a nuclear weapon was the purpose of the strikes, then it seems to me that it would be important that we are 100% able to verify that Iran's nuclear program has been set back the way that the president is claiming it has been. So therefore we can kind of assess assess how well these strikes were carried out, if that was the inherent goal of the strikes in the first place. But before we look at all that, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps out the algorithm a lot. So first here, we're going to look at a clip of Trump comparing the damage in Iran to the damage caused in Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the dropping of the atomic bombs on Japan. Absolutely just absurd stuff here, guys. Let's check this out.
We assess that the American strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities has set back Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons for many years to come. This achievement can continue indefinitely if Iran does not get access to nuclear material, which it won't. It's so sad that that whole thing had to go. But I just want to thank our pilots. You know, they were maligned and treated very bad, demeaned by fake news CNN, which is back there, believe it or not. Wasting time, nobody's watching them, so they're just wasting a lot of time, wasting my time. And the New York Times, they put out a story that, well, maybe they were hit, but it wasn't bad. Well, it was so bad that they ended the war. It ended the war. Somebody said in a certain way, that it was so devastating, actually. If you look at Hiroshima, if you look at Nagasaki, that ended a war too. This ended a war in a different way, but it was so devastating.
Just absolutely absurd. The damage is just absolutely nowhere near the absolute destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So that's just silly. And what I want to show you guys now is this article from NPR that talks a little bit about some of the math and science, two things I know that are not high up on Trump's list of things that he knows about or considers when he's making any given statement. Here's some of the math and science behind why Iran's nuclear program may have not been completely obliterated. So the infographics were everywhere in the run-up to Sunday's early morning strike on Iran's nuclear facilities by American stealth bombers. They depicted American bunker-busting bombs known as the Massive Ordnance Penetrator, or GBU-57. Okay, only America had this 30,000-pound weapon. Only America could hit Iran's most deeply buried uranium enrichment site at a place called Fordo. It was buried beneath nearly 90 meters or 300 feet of rock, far deeper than Israeli bombs could penetrate. There was only one problem. I wasn't sure it could entirely work. Now it appears it may not have. According to a still classified assessment by the Defense Intelligence Agency, the bombs did not obliterate Iran's Fordo enrichment site as President Trump initially claimed. Instead, the strike only did damage to the advanced centrifuges kept there. At most, the program was set back by a few months, according to a U.S. official who confirmed the assessment's existence to NPR, but remained anonymous because they were not authorized to speak to the press. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on social media. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on the targets. Total obliteration. Well, not necessarily. Decades ago, I covered another effort to create powerful Earth-penetrating weapons in the aftermath of September 11th, with an eye towards the caves of Afghanistan, where Osama bin Laden was believed to be hiding. Then President George Bush's administration looked at whether a nuclear weapon could be dropped from a plane into the ground. The robust nuclear Earth penetrator, as the concept was known, would deliver a powerful shock to the underground tunnels and bunkers. But when scientists got involved, they found that there is no way to get a nuclear weapon nearly deep enough to contain the blast and radioactive fallout, and the program was eventually abandoned. Okay, and now I'll get into some of the math here. But real quick, Caroline Leavitt, she says that she basically admits that this document does exist, but dismisses the veracity of it. But we don't even know for sure exactly what's in the document, but the White House is claiming that they do. And for us to not worry about it, don't look over there at the statistics and data of organizations that do statistics and data on this sort of stuff. Just believe Donald Trump at his word, because Trump is right about everything. I mean, that's what the White House is telling us to do. Seriously. I'm not going to do that. I don't know about you guys. So here's this guy saying that it depends on what kind of Earth it gets dropped on, how effective any particular bomb is. It depends enormously on the kind of rock, says Raymond Ginloz, a professor at the University of California, Berkeley, and one of the original authors of the 2005 National Academic Study on Earth Penetrators. When I ran the calculations using a key equation from that study, I found out that the GBU-57 could only go up to 80 meters, 262 feet underground, if it was dropped in clay. In medium strength rock, things looked far different. The GBU-57 could only go around 7.9 meters, around 25 feet beneath the Earth, far short of the 60 meters claimed by the infographics. This may be an important part of the reason why the weapon failed to destroy its target. If indeed the bombs did fail as the DIA assessment claims. So these guys are doing math over here and actually calculating the impact that the GBU-57 would have on the type of earth that it was dropped on in Iran. And Donald Trump is puffing his chest out and telling us to believe him at his word. Who are you guys gonna trust here? Now I want to show you Rand Paul, who is seemingly the last conservative out there. I said that a few weeks ago, and then he totally walked back his opposition towards the big beautiful bill, and so I kind of rescinded that. But he is at least somebody who seems to have his head screwed on more times than all of the other crazy people in Donald Trump's MAGA world. And so I'll at least give him that. And he has an interesting point to make here when it comes to this kind of back and forth about whether or not Iran's nuclear program was completely obliterated, as Trump keeps pounding the table and telling us it was, when his own intelligence agencies are saying that might not be the case. Let's go ahead and check out what Rand Paul has to say here.
Completely. And he's really pounding on CNN for leaking it. And he's saying, look, we got it all. There's totally destroyed it. That's what he's saying. And he's got a team working on that right now. You don't accept the president on this?
I don't know what to accept. I have heard the leaks. I've also heard the press secretary say that top secret things shouldn't be released, implying that there was actually a report saying this. But the analysts are guests as well. So they're intelligent people, but they're making guesses on satellite photos, I would think, primarily. Maybe they also have informants, I don't know. But really, probably no one's been down there yet. They bombed the hell out of the place. So I would think you have to dig out to even find out what's left. I don't even think the Iranians probably will know what's left for a couple of weeks. But I do think that there are two possibilities now. Iran is chastened and gives up, or they're going to hasten their development of a bomb. I worry about the latter because I don't want them to have nuclear weapons.
Do you think that now the president's at the NATO meeting in Europe, he's gotten a very warm reception. Can you call this a win for the president?
Well, you know, the Bushes are happy, Mike Pence is happy, Bill Kristol is happy. All of his critics that think he's not bellicose enough are just loving it and clapping, and they're very excited. Many of them, I think, secretly hope that we will send troops into the Middle East and be more mired in another prolonged war. I do think, though, that the president's instincts are counter to people like Bill Kristol and Levine. So I think that the president actually will try to keep us out of war, and I'm glad that he's pushed towards a ceasefire. And I think the president has some good instincts. I don't agree with the bombing, and I do think you have to ask the Congress for permission. That's what the Constitution demands.
Yeah, I mean, wow, look at this Fox News host here. Just not the interview he was expecting to have, I guess, even though, again, Rand Paul is not somebody who's off in MAGA crazy land. But Rand Paul has an important point to make here, which is he says it there. He doesn't agree with the bombings, right? I don't agree with the bombings. 88% of Democrats don't agree with the bombings. But since the administration haphazardly and brazenly, without the approval of Congress, I'll say, as Rand Paul said there, decided to go forward with this action to attempt to destroy Iran's nuclear sites, right? Well, you better make sure you freaking did it right the first time, right? Because like Paul said there's two options, right? It's either their program has been completely obliterated, as Trump keeps slamming the table and telling us, or they are going to be even more emboldened to make a nuclear weapon now. And this whole attack may end up just backfiring, or perhaps even making them more emboldened than they were before. So having the exact opposite effect that Donald Trump is claiming that these bombings had, it is very much a possibility here that we cannot leave out of we cannot just completely eliminate that possibility that they are more emboldened, the Iranians, until we are able to get an assessment of people that go in there and are on the ground and do digging and can verifiably, scientifically say, yes, Trump is right, the program was obliterated. If on the off chance that it wasn't, right, and there is enriched uranium that Iran still has, and these deep sites underground were not damaged the way Trump is saying, then we are worse off. We're worse off in this situation than we were before the bombings, which is just would be a complete travesty, and this would be one of Donald Trump's biggest blunders that he has committed since becoming the president the first time around, if that was to be the case. So do I hope that Iran's nuclear program was completely obliterated? Yeah, I do. You went through with the bombings. Hopefully they had the effect that the administration is saying that they had, but we cannot verify that 100% right now. No matter how much Trump wants to complain about the media and say that he has his feelings hurt, and no matter how much Marco Rubio wants to, in an exasperated tone, chastise people for questioning this, it ultimately is going to come down to the ground analysis that is done that Israel has not been able to carry out, right? They came out with this report that says that, oh yeah, patting Trump on the back. Good job, Trump. What you're saying is exactly the truth. Well, of course, Israel's damage assessment is going to be favorable towards the president's bluster and try to make him feel good, because the bombing of these Iranian nuclear sites ultimately helps out Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's war effort more than anything else, right? More than it makes America safer than the day before, or makes our citizens better off than they were the day before. Of course, they're gonna be favorable towards Trump's assessment that exists so far only in his head and his allies' head, who just garble up every single bullshit platitude that comes flying out of the Oval Office and the White House, from the White House press secretary on any given day. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.